Everyone thinks that a character is going to die in the final episode of Stranger Things. I think they're wrong. Let's get into why. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what I, a fantasy writer, think is going to happen in the final episode of Stranger Things. The show's been running for 5 seasons now across many more years than 5. I don't know how many it's been. The Duffer Brothers have been running it. It's been a fun time. And so as we go into this, I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, why I think it's going to happen. I'm going to make some calls. It's going to come out pretty close to when the episode does, so we're going to get a chance to see whether I was right or wrong. I'm going to throw out a couple disclosures here at the beginning. First, the show is great. Just because I make certain calls or am worried about certain things happening doesn't mean I don't recommend the show. It's a fun time. They've done a great job with it. My wife and I have loved watching it over the years as it's come out. 2, as a fantasy writer, I can tell you that there are certain guidelines we can use to kind of predict what's going to happen in a story, but that ultimately part of being a fantasy writer is that creation element. And I'm not the Duffer Brothers, so I could very well be wrong. Don't take this as a final episode recap. Watch this, then watch the episode, or watch the episode and then watch this, and let's see how I pair up. If you're in the comment section and you want to keep a tally, you've already seen the final, let me know. I would be curious just to see how we stack, or if anyone else is curious, they can look there and see what will happen. Okay, first, let's talk about one of the tools I'm going to be using to try and figure out what's happening or going to happen in the show. The tool I'm going to be using is from Brandon Sanderson. He just outlines stories this way. I think it's a helpful way to do it. He has 3 Ps. Other people have different alliterations for this. But promise, progress, and then payoff. Those are our 3 Ps of any good English story, a linear story that, we think about the setting, the rising action, the climax, those kinds of things. Promise, progress, and payoff, I think, is a better model. And really what this means for us is at the beginning of a story, we're given certain promises. Promises about what kind of genre we can expect, promises about who our main characters are, promises about the threats we'll face, and ultimately even promises about that resolution. The rest of the story is about us making progress to payoff. And so we progress towards the promises that were made to us, towards the deliverance of those promises. And so in Stranger Things' case, and sometimes we're given little mini promises throughout the way. For example, I think Will being gay is something that was promised to us somewhere in the middle of the show. I can't quite remember when that started being an arc. And so one of our payoffs was going to have to be that this was going to be a discussion. And so we got that earlier in this final season. People have discussed whether that's good placement for it, and that'll play a little bit of a hand, actually, I think, in our discussion of the final episode. But throughout the show, we're given little promises as well. Promises like 8, the character that's been introduced for this final season, again, after briefly showing up while Elle was on the run in earlier seasons. What are our promises? I think chiefly we're promised a sort of D&D campaign. I think that's actually one of the strengths of the show. So often fantasy writers want to do something new but don't have any idea on how to do something new. I think they incorporated fun new elements. You could call this a sci-fi, but I think there's a lot of parallels, a lot of different things that happen just under different skins, sometimes depending on how hard the science is. But I would say, harder magic system. Sort of same. Don't hate me, bro. Have your opinion. Anyways, I think that the promise is made for us that this is going to be a sort of D&D campaign, and they keep with this analogy throughout the show, and I actually think it makes it super easy to follow because they're just like, hey, here's our analogy. Come back to the analogy if things aren't clear. Bam, analogy. We're playing with kind of D&D-esque concepts. So there was a very fun thing that they did there, and I think that helps set up for some promises for us because then we can look at D&D too as a form of genre. So what happens here? Well, you do have character building, but that character building happens in the context of going on a quest, like going on an arc, right? To beat the big baddie usually is what the quest is. If you're thinking like typical story patterns, whether that's a dragon, a necromancer. In this case, we have Vecna, right? He's our dark sorcerer that we're going after, or dark wizard. And so that's what they're working to do, is take down Vecna. In the middle of that, they have the army at play, and I think a good twist for them. Good D&Ds can have twists, right? It's actually something that people look forward to. I think a good twist would be actually the big resolution that needs to happen is with the army. And they've been this side villain, but they haven't been seen as the main villain. Vecna's been kind of seen as the main villain. based off of an interview, the guy who plays Will Byers, he had said something along the lines of Vecna being one of the most misunderstood characters. My guess will be that in their final battle with Vecna, they'll actually come to understand his role in a different way, and that they'll deal with the army, which leads me to one of our promises. Elle is brought into this world out of a dark one, and there's this promise that with these boys, she can have a family and a home. And definitely, if you're watching season 1, that's like the vibes. Like, you're rooting for this little girl, not just because she's powerful, which is cool, but also because like she's got nobody, and now she has people. And this is like to the heart of the show. Like, Hopper is very much a part of this, right? Joyce is a part of this. All of the characters join together to give her that family. I would say that the progress they should be making is towards solidifying that family, and the payoff they should be getting is exactly what Mike has been talking about throughout this season, of like, no, like the place by the waterfall. They've teased that that's not going to happen, but I think that's just to create suspense for us. People are saying, okay, 11's going to die, these kinds of things. Possible. It's possible. I don't think so. I agree that they have been willing to kill off characters historically. We have Sean Astin's character, Bob. We have Chrissy. We have, what was Nancy's best friend's name in season 1? We have characters who have died in the show, certainly. Good guys, the ones I named, but like bad guys as well. People do die. However, the amount of death fakes we have gotten for this last season are incredible. I think, and this is what I'm going to say. If I was just going off of promise, progress, payoff, I would say, yeah, probably someone will die in the group. The rest of the group will be stronger. Not Elle, but maybe Will. If they want to deliver payoff, maybe Will. Will's one of the guys that they fought so hard to bring back. Maybe Caleb, maybe Sadie Sink's character. It could, just any number of them. Maybe Joyce. Sorry, now I'm theorizing. I would say that's probably what would happen, but in that mindset, here's what I want to say. I don't think that the last season has been delivering on payoffs as regularly as I would have expected them to. They seem to be very caught up on explaining the world at this point. Typically, explanations of the world happen throughout the story in terms of, well, this is relevant to this plot point right now. And certainly they've done that, but it seems like there's a lot more that they want to say and haven't had a chance to say. And so we keep getting these kind of drawn out narratives about like, oh, but what if it's like this and this and this? And then they use some kind of visual tool to explain it to us, and very, very heavy on that in this last season. So they seem very, as writers, concerned about tying up loose ends with how this works. Okay, so that's not what I would be doing at the end of the story. I wouldn't care so much to make sure you understand every detail to the magic system, unless the magic system is the twist. So I think there's going to be a big twist here with the magic system. People have been proposing time travel. I think that's on the table. I think that could be part of how we understand Vecna in the end. So I'm going to call time travel as something that 7.5 out of 10 is looking like it's a possibility, at least some kind of twist that matters to the magic system, because they are spending a lot of time on it. If not, they're missing their payoff. We should just be focusing on this final battle. Another thing, though, they might not be. They might not be working towards that twist. I'm a little concerned because Mike is the kind of lead protagonist in season 1 amongst the guys. And then, 11 is definitely another lead protagonist. I'd say they're the two lead kid protagonists in season 1. As we go forward, he becomes a love interest with Elle, and so that kind of, in my head, solidifies him as that protagonist, right? Like, he's not just a protagonist in the guy story arc, but now he's right alongside Elle, who's definitely a protagonist. Except that as we move towards as we progress in the story, we're not getting as much payoff on that. Mike is really a tertiary character to everybody in the story so far. In my mind, he's got as much screen time as the soldier that Elle interrogates in the truck in the Upside Down in this season. So he's really a kind of a background character, which is a shame, I think. And so I'm concerned with like the payoff. Are they thinking towards payoff, or are they just wanting to explain themselves? Are they just feeling a bunch of pressure to give answers? I don't think that they need to. But that being said, I think for this final episode, it's likely we're going to get a lot more of Holly. She seems to have become the main character this season. Actor does a great job. The story was interesting, just not like the characters that I thought we were going to be following as much. I think Holly will be the main character, followed by Elle. I think nobody is going to die, so these are my official calls, and could be dead wrong. And if somebody does die, it will be Will. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the reason they brought up okay, so I think that they needed to narratively deal with like the fact that he was gay. Like they wanted to express that. They had built that up in the character. Like it was a loose end. It was something that like had no payoff yet. But I'm also wondering if they did that in order to like pull on our heartstrings more with like a death blow to the character. We're gonna have to see. Um, do I think Vecna is going to be redeemed? I'm going to lock in for yes, based off of what the actor who plays Will said in interviews. Do I think that there's going to be a final battle? Yes. I think there will be a fake final battle and then a real final battle after an adventure. And so the fake final battle will probably be with Vecna, and then the real final battle will be with the military. That's my guess. I think 8 as a character is probably going to die. Like, most probably going to die. And that, yeah, she's not a friend to Elle. I don't think that's a thing. I think Hopper is going to live. I think he wants to die too much. he needs to live for the story arc. So those are my predictions. I'm super curious to see if I'm right. If you've already seen the show, let me know what or let me know how I did. Sorry. And if you haven't seen the show, put your predictions in the comments. I want to know what you think is going to happen. Thanks so much. Bye.